Hello and welcome to a very special Cygnus Destroyer review. I'm about to take the first step into uncharted territory for this channel. Yes, Cygnus Destroyer is finally going modern with a game that's less than 2 years old. This particular title needs no introduction. It was on many Best of 2014 lists and it was claimed to be a platformer worthy of the classics. As a diehard retro fanatic, that perked my ears up and I knew that I had to try it for myself. I know I'm late to the party, but I'm beyond excited to give you my take on Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight was released on June 26, 2014. It was published and developed by Yacht Club Games and was the product of a successful Kickstarter. The campaign page claimed that Shovel Knight would be a groundbreaking love letter to 8-bits. That was a bold statement to make, but since Yacht Club was founded by employees of Way Forward who specialized in retro revival titles such as DuckTales Remastered, they had the track record to back it up. The retro vibe is captured as soon as the amazing soundtrack blasts from the speakers in all its chiptune glory. Pressing start and creating a profile leads to a story cinematic, which is presented in full NES style. We're introduced to our protagonist and his companion, Shield Knight. Their union was the mightiest in all the lands, but it was sadly cut short at the Tower of Fate. The blue-clad hero mourns the loss of Shield Knight and retires to the countryside. In his absence, the Order of No Quarter, led by the Enchantress, arises and spreads fear across the land. It's up to the brave warrior to once again lift his steel to restore peace by disrupting the dreaded order. The adventurer leaps into the frame and stage 1 begins. Immediately apparent after the transition is the jaw-dropping presentation. The graphics are gorgeous with an 8-bit inspired aesthetic and a bright, crisp color palette. The music is like a long-lost NES-era masterpiece. The majestic melodies were composed by Jake Kaufman and Manami Matsume, and they did a phenomenal job. Phenomenal isn't even enough to describe how great it is, and I get goosebumps whenever I hear certain tracks. Presentation aside, the actual platforming is astounding. Owing to its 8-bit inspiration, the control scheme is simple and super tight. On the PS3, X jumps and circle or square attack. The default attack is a swing of his signature weapon. However, holding down on the D-pad after jumping will cause him to bounce around similar to Link in Zelda 2. Mastering this is vital to get past some of the trickier segments in the levels that follow. The introductory section called The Plains is meant to adapt the player to the action that lies ahead. It teaches the core concepts of the bouncing mechanic and digging to destroy enemies and unearth treasure. The treasure is central to succeeding in Shovel Knight as the jewels function as currency. Maintaining a large amount of money can be tough since a little bit is lost after every death. They can be retrieved, but sometimes it's impossible to reach them. Basically, we have to play as well as we can or we'll be flat broke before we can spend a single coin. This sounds easy in theory, but it's far more complicated than that. Platforming novices will encounter narrow ledges that will prove to be quite problematic. I'll admit that even I made a lot of embarrassing mistakes when I began my session. Regardless, there are unlimited lives and checkpoints scattered across each location, so all it takes is patience and determination to get through even the hardest of sections. As the titular hero continues to dispatch enemies, plow through obstructions, and collect jewels, health refilling meat, and music sheets, he'll eventually run into the first boss, Black Knight. The foe insults his blue counterpart via text, and the battle begins. Black Knight puts up a good fight, but he's pretty easy. Once victory is attained, the scene shifts to the shovel wielder slumbering in front of a fire, accompanied with a beautiful Jake Kaufman composition. The camera pans up to reveal Shield Knight falling from the sky. We're instructed to catch her, and whether we do or don't, the screen fades to white, the new day dawns, and the world map appears after making an exit. The next mandatory stop on the trip is the village. The village is where we meet some really interesting characters, such as the bard who exchanges money for the music sheets, the gastronomer who whips up healthy meals, and the Troupple acolyte. The acolyte sells chalices that are made to contain the sacred ichor of the Troupple King, a trout apple hybrid creature. Upon choosing the elixir, the king and his subjects engage in a cute dance number, and it's time to face another member of the order. Certain areas of the map are locked initially, so the only options are Pridemore Keep or the Lich Yard, which are ruled by King and Spectre Knights respectively. Pridemore Keep is comparable to the Plains, with the disappearing book section being the sole tricky spot, but the Lich Yard provides a creepy Castlevania-esque experience. After the bosses are eliminated, the dream sequence is repeated in an altered manner, and then it's back to the map. This is the pattern for the remainder of the game, and we see that familiar tropes are utilized. The Iron Whale, Lost City, Stranded Ship, and the Flying Machine are the trademark water, fire, ice, and air levels respectively, and there are nostalgic nods to its genre predecessors. Along the way, we pick up relics from Chester the Merchant, which add abilities that are required to progress in the later portion of this adventure. They're performed by pressing up and square and are fueled by the magic points, meaning that if an essential power-up drains the meter before a segment is complete, then you're SOL. Examples of the relics are the Phase Locket, which causes temporary invulnerability, the War Horn, which blasts all foes within range to bits, and the Propeller Dagger, with which he can soar through the air. A visit to the armor outpost will bring marked improvements to the offensive and defensive capabilities. These upgrade the digging and include a wicked cool charged attack, and the new armor can increase the magic meter and reduce the amount of gold lost after a death. I would suggest experimenting with these abilities and upgrades to see which work best and where they're needed. Trial and error becomes inevitable since the difficulty escalates with each new stage, living up to the standards set by its forebears. Trust me when I say that the challenge presented will satisfy even veterans of the genre. Once the last of the knights has been eliminated, the path to the Tower of Fate is opened and we've arrived at the dramatic conclusion. So it's time to put on the spoiler warning. Click on the poster to skip past them because we're heading into the home stretch. The Tower of Fate is broken down into 3 parts, and the intensity knob is cranked up to 11. Fortunately, as I mentioned previously, we have the safety net of unlimited lives, so just stick with it and remain patient. Black Knight returns, and he's a lot stronger thanks to the Enchantress's magic. After a brief skirmish, the adversaries reach an understanding and the noble rescuer continues onward. The ascension of the structure leads to the fiercest action yet, with obstacles and auto-scrollers aplenty. Waiting at the top is the entire Rogues Gallery, who want a rematch in the form of a boss rush. Defeating them yet again leaves only the ultimate showdown. It was hinted at during Black Knight's dialogue, but the bombshell is finally dropped that the Enchantress is none other than Shield Knight possessed by the cursed amulet. The Enchantress is a pain in the ass. She'll break apart the base that the protagonist stands on, resulting in a possible plunge to instant death below. Watch your footing and be prepared to bounce when an opportunity presents itself, and she'll be freed from her living nightmare. The couple has a very emotional reunion. but it's abruptly cut short by the untamed evil force. The sprite is massive and reminds me of Ursula from The Little Mermaid. In spite of its size, I found this to be easier overall. Simply avoid the projectiles, then bounce off of Shield Knight and onto its head, and repeat until it's finished for good. The duo are about to make a hasty retreat from the crumbling building when the story takes a turn for the worse. Shield Knight sacrifices herself so that her wounded partner can survive, and peace is restored at a terrible cost. The cast of characters are shown in brief vignettes, which are positive for the most part. And then it cuts to Black Knight keeping his promise as the credits roll. A bittersweet ending for sure. But what's this? Shield Knight survived! The feels are overwhelming! Bravo, Yacht Club! Bravo! Shovel Knight is, well, it's hard to describe, because I could come up with a million different words to express how amazing this is, but they still wouldn't be enough. This is the best platformer in years, and it truly is a worthy love letter to the NES. I was impressed with how much content it offers, such as the Challenge Mode, New Game Plus, and the free Plague of Shadows DLC, which will be the topic of a future video. The version that I have even features a bonus boss battle with Kratos from God of War. How cool is that? If you've somehow never played this, then I highly recommend doing so. It's available on most modern consoles and handhelds, PC and Mac, so there's no excuse not to. I adore Shovel Knight, and if you're a retro fan like I am, then you will too. Anyway, now that I've reviewed this masterpiece, I have an appearance in the IUPG court to attend to. Come back next week for that, but until then, this is Matt, signing out. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like I said before, come back next week for another episode of Innocent Till Proven Guilty, but until then, you can check out these videos on the screen right now. But first, I want to give a shout out to Anthony on Facebook for the really cool LJN shirt that he gave me, which he actually made himself. It's a very, very cool shirt, and I was waiting for an opportunity to wear it in a video, and now that I did, and it's just awesomeness. So I'm going to put a link for his Etsy shop in the description where he has his other really cool NES-inspired shirts. His art style is really, really cool, so definitely check this out. Thanks again, Anthony, for the rad shirt. I love it so much. But anyway, on to the videos on the screen now. On the upper left-hand corner, that is last week's really interesting video, top 10 on the kiddiest kids games of all, well, I guess all time. But basically, it's what I own, so. But yeah, that's what I did for Halloween. I wanted to be silly for Halloween. Most people try to go scary, whatever, creepy, well, creepy. I guess some people said that this was pretty creepy, so I guess that worked. So hey, it's a creepy Halloween video in the form of a silly Halloween video, so check it out. Now on the upper right hand corner, that is my last closest dabbling with modern gaming, which was the remake of Turtles in Time for Innocent Till Proven Guilty, Turtles in Time Reshelled. So check that out on the upper right. On the bottom left hand corner, just for the hay of it, and I guess because the day just passed recently, how about the LJN Defender episode of Back to the Future 2 and 3 for the NES? So, yep, check out all of those videos right there. And of course, if you're new to the channel, if you like what you saw and you want to see more, click on that red box right there with Bucky O'Hare on top of it, and that'll subscribe you to the channel, and you'll be able to keep up to date with all my current content. So until next time, when the new Innocent Until Proven Guilty comes out, I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!